True Blue Talk. We hope you like what this video show. We loved making it. It began as Chevrolet's bold answer to the Mustang, but the Camaro became so much more than a rival. It became a symbol of American muscle. From its fiery birth in the 1960s through the golden age of raw horsepower, the tough struggles of the 1980s, and the thrilling rebirth of the 1990s, the Camaro has lived a story of triumph, setback, and reinvention. It disappeared only to return stronger than ever, capturing hearts on the streets, racetracks, and even the big screen. Each generation pushed the limits with legendary trims like the Z/28, SS, and ZL1, carving their names into motorsport history. And now, with its future uncertain, the Camaro stands as a legend that refuses to be forgotten. This is the full story of the Chevrolet Camaro, a car born from rivalry, shaped by culture, and remembered as one of the most iconic machines ever built. In the mid-1960s, the American car market was shaken to its core. Ford had just unleashed the Mustang in 1964, and it wasn't just a new car, it was a cultural explosion. Young buyers, first-time car owners and performance enthusiasts all wanted one. By the time Chevrolet realized what was happening, Ford had already sold over 1 million Mustangs. For a company as proud and competitive as Chevy, this wasn't just a problem, it was an emergency. Behind closed doors, at General Motors, executives knew they couldn't sit back. They needed an answer, and fast. What they wanted was more than just a car. They needed a weapon, something that could stand toe-to-toe with the Mustang and steal back the spotlight. That idea would soon become the Chevrolet Camaro. But before it was Camaro, the project was given a code name, Panther. Engineers and designers worked in secret, sketching a car that combined style, speed, and affordability. The goal was clear: make it sleek, make it aggressive, and most importantly, make it accessible to the average driver. Chevrolet wanted everyone, from high school students to weekend racers, to dream about this car, the first generation Camaro. Finally, in 1966, the world got its first glimpse of the new machine. The name Camaro was chosen after Chevy explained it meant a small, fierce animal that eats Mustangs. The message couldn't have been clearer. This wasn't just a new car, it was Chevrolet's declaration of war. The Camaro wasn't just born, it was forged in rivalry, designed to fight for pride, dominance, and a place in American history. And what happened next would make it a legend. When the Camaro officially hit showrooms in September 1966 as a 1967 model, it didn't just arrive, it roared onto the scene. Chevy's engineers had delivered a car that was sleek, stylish, and ready for the fight. The long hood, short rear deck, and muscular stance fit perfectly into the pony car formula that Mustang had pioneered. But Camaro offered something extra: endless customization. Buyers could choose from a simple 6-cylinder cruiser to fire-breathing V8 monsters, making the Camaro a car for everyone. The Camaro's evolution and success. Chevrolet didn't hold back on performance trims either. The RS Rally Sport added hidden headlights and sharp styling touches, while the SS Super Sport brought bigger V8 power and aggressive looks. And then there was the Z/28, Chevrolet's secret weapon, built specifically to dominate the Trans Am racing series. With its high-revving 302 cubic-inch V8 and track-focused suspension, the Z/28 wasn't just a car you bought. It was a car you raced. The Camaro quickly became more than transportation. It was a symbol of freedom, rebellion, and speed. Teenagers wanted them, drag racers loved them, and Chevrolet fans finally had their answer to the Mustang. By 1969, the Camaro had already cemented itself as an American icon. That year's restyled model, with its bold lines and wider stance, is still considered by many to be one of the most beautiful muscle cars ever built. The first generation Camaro didn't just compete with the Mustang, it carved out its own identity. It wasn't about copying the competition anymore. It was about proving that Chevrolet could lead the pony car wars with style, power, and attitude. The second generation Camaro. By 1970, the Camaro was ready for its second act, and Chevrolet came swinging. The new generation looked nothing like the original. It was longer, lower, and wider, with curves inspired by European sports cars, but with the raw muscle of Detroit. If the first Camaro was a rebel teenager, the second generation was a confident young adult, built to dominate streets and tracks alike. Performance was at its peak. The SS flexed with big block V8s, and the Z/28 evolved into a true street fighter, packing the legendary LT-1350 engine. With 360 horsepower on tap, it was fast, loud, and unapologetically American. Chevrolet even made it handle better, giving drivers a taste of precision alongside brute force. For many fans, this was the Camaro at its purest: fast, stylish, and accessible. The Camaro also became a pop culture star. It appeared in movies, car magazines, and countless garages across the country. The 1970 to 73 split bumper Camaros are still worshipped today as some of the most beautiful muscle cars ever made. The Camaro's challenges in the 70s. But as the decade rolled on, dark clouds gathered. Emissions regulations, the oil crisis, and insurance crackdowns started choking performance. By the mid-1970s, horsepower numbers dropped and the muscle car era began to fade. Yet, the Camaro refused to die. Chevrolet kept it alive with bold styling, new trims, and cultural relevance. The late 1970s saw the rise of the IROCZ and the flashy rally sport packages. Sales stayed strong, and by the end of the decade, the Camaro had outlasted many rivals. The golden age of raw muscle was ending, but the Camaro proved it could survive the storm. It wasn't just a car anymore, it was a fighter, adapting to every challenge while keeping its spirit intact. The third generation Camaro. The 1980s brought a new era, and with it, the third generation Camaro. Gone were the heavy lines and massive engines of the past. In their place came a sleeker, more aerodynamic design that matched the high-tech decade. Chevrolet engineers shaved weight, improved handling, and even introduced fuel injection, making the Camaro faster and more efficient than before. But while it looked sharp, this was also a time of struggle. The Camaro's struggle and survival. Government regulations and the lingering effects of the oil crisis had gutted performance across the industry. Horsepower numbers that once roared in the 300s now limped into the hundreds. For muscle car purists, it felt like a betrayal, yet Chevrolet wasn't ready to give up. The 1982 Camaro Z/28 made headlines by pacing the Indianapolis 500, proving the car still had racing DNA. As the decade rolled on, the Camaro leaned into its image as a street icon. The IROC Z, named after the International Race of Champions, became the poster car of the 80s, with sharp body lines, tuned suspensions, and up to 245 horsepower by the end of the decade. It was a hit among young drivers who wanted style and speed without breaking the bank. The Camaro also became a symbol of pop culture cool. It showed up in TV shows, movies, and music videos, perfectly matching the neon colors and fast-paced vibe of the era. Still, sales began to slow by the early 1990s. Competition was fierce, and the Camaro was starting to feel dated. The third generation proved the Camaro could adapt, but it also showed the cost of survival in a changing world. The car had traded raw muscle for balance and style, and while it kept the legend alive, fans wondered, could true performance ever return? Don't forget to like, and more importantly, subscribe if you are enjoying this style of story. The fourth generation Camaro. When the fourth generation Camaro arrived in 1993, it felt like Chevrolet was finally ready to flex again. The design was radical for its time. Smooth aerodynamic lines, wraparound headlights, and a shape that screamed speed even when parked. But the biggest change wasn't just skin deep. Under the hood, the Camaro brought real muscle back to the fight. At launch, the Z28 came with a 5.7-litre LT1 V8 borrowed from the Corvette, producing 275 horsepower. For the first time in years, Camaro fans could feel that raw surge of power that defined the car's glory days. And Chevrolet didn't stop there. By the late 1990s, the legendary LS1 V8 made its way into the Camaro, pushing output to 305 to 325 horsepower. Suddenly, the Camaro wasn't just keeping up with the Mustang, it was outpacing it. Drag strips and street races became playgrounds for the fourth gen, and tuners loved it. Affordable, fast, and easy to modify, it was the perfect car for an era obsessed with speed. The Camaro SS and the special SLP built models added even more firepower, cementing the car's reputation as a true performance bargain. But while the Camaro roared back to life on the track, it faced struggles in the showroom. Sales began to slip as SUVs and imports grew in popularity. By the early 2000s, even with strong engines and loyal fans, the Camaro felt like a relic in a market shifting away from muscle cars. The Camaro's discontinuation. In 2002, after 35 years of production, Chevrolet announced the unthinkable. The Camaro was discontinued. The factory went quiet, and an American icon disappeared. For many, it felt like the end of an era. But legends don't die so easily, and the Camaro's story was far from over. After 2002, silence fell over Chevrolet's pony car stable. For the first time in decades, there was no Camaro on the showroom floor. Fans were stunned. How could a car that had defined muscle for generations simply vanish? But the truth was simple. Sales had collapsed. By the early 2000s, buyers were trading in sports coupes for SUVs and trucks. Gas prices were climbing, insurance was costly, and younger drivers were looking at imports instead of American muscle. The Camaro, once a king, had become a victim of changing times. Chevrolet officially pulled the plug, closing the factory in Saint-Zie, Quebec. It wasn't just the end of a model, it felt like the end of an era. For the Mustang, it meant one less rival. For fans, it meant holding on to their fourth gen, hoping Chevrolet would someday revive the legend. But while the Camaro was gone from dealerships, it wasn't gone from hearts. Car clubs, drag strips, and online forums kept the spirit alive. Collectors began hunting for rare Z28s, SS models, and anniversary editions. The absence of the Camaro only deepened its myth, like a sleeping giant, waiting for the right moment to return. Behind the scenes, whispers began. Designers at Chevrolet toyed with retro sketches. Executives debated whether a reborn Camaro could capture both nostalgia and modern buyers. The idea of bringing it back wasn't just tempting, it was inevitable. The fall of the Camaro wasn't its death. It was a pause, a quiet before the storm. And when Chevrolet finally decided to bring it back, they didn't just want a car. They wanted a resurrection, the Camaro's return. In 2010, the silence finally broke. After an 8-year absence, the Camaro roared back into dealerships with a brand new fifth generation. And this wasn't just a car, it was a statement. Inspired by the legendary 1969 Camaro, the design was bold, muscular, and instantly recognizable. Retro lines mixed with modern aggression, and fans who had been waiting nearly a decade flooded Chevrolet showrooms. The legend was alive again. Chevrolet knew the stakes were high, and they delivered. The new Camaro SS came with a 6.2-liter V8, pushing up to 426 horsepower, making it one of the most powerful Camaros ever built straight from the factory. Even the base V6 packed over 300 horsepower, proving the Camaro wasn't just about looks, it was about performance for every budget. Pop culture gave the Camaro an extra push. The Bumblebee role in the Transformers movies turned the car into a superstar for a new generation of fans. Suddenly, kids who had never seen the old muscle car wars were begging their parents for Camaros. It wasn't just a revival, it was a cultural rebirth. Special editions kept the hype alive. The ZL1 with its supercharged 580 horsepower V8, and the return of the track-focused Z28, built to conquer road courses, and anniversary editions that paid tribute to the Camaro's history. Each one reminded fans that Chevrolet was serious about keeping the Camaro relevant in the modern era. The comeback wasn't just successful, it was spectacular. Sales soared, rivalries with the Mustang reignited, and the Camaro proved that even after nearly a decade in the shadows, it could rise again, stronger than ever. The sixth generation Camaro. In 2016, the Camaro entered its sixth generation, and Chevrolet wasn't playing safe. This time, the car shed over 200 pounds thanks to a lighter Alpha platform shared with Cadillac, making it sharper, faster, and more refined than ever before. The design evolved too, sleeker, meaner, with a more sculpted body that looked ready to slice through air and rivals alike. If the fifth generation was a bold comeback, the sixth was proof that the Camaro could thrive in a high-tech, competitive era. Performance was on another level. The SS packed a 6.2-litre LT 1V8 with 455 horsepower, while the ZL1 turned heads with a monstrous 650 horsepower supercharged LT4 capable of embarrassing even European exotics. And for track junkies, the Camaro 1 LE packages transformed the car into a precision handling machine, earning respect not just from muscle car fans, but from critics who once dismissed the Camaro as only straight-line fast. The Camaro became a true global player, squaring off not just with the Mustang and Challenger, but also with BMW M cars and Porsche 911S on road courses. Yet, despite the engineering brilliance, trouble lingered. Sales began slipping as more buyers turned to SUVs and trucks. The sixth-generation Camaro received praise for performance, but its aggressive styling split opinions, and Chevrolet struggled to capture the wide audience it once had. Still, the sixth generation proved the Camaro wasn't stuck in the past. It had evolved into a modern sports car, blending muscle heritage with cutting-edge technology. Even as sales slowed, the Camaro's reputation on the track and its role in car culture cemented it as a worthy successor in the pony car wars. The Camaro's legacy and future. Throughout its history, the Camaro has never been just one car. It's been many faces of the same legend. From the beginning, Chevrolet knew that special editions could ignite passion and carve the Camaro's name deeper into the culture of performance. The Z/28, born in the late 1960s for Trans Am racing, became a track-focused monster that enthusiasts still worship today. Its high-revving small-block V8 and razor-sharp handling proved the Camaro wasn't only about drag strips, it could dominate road courses too. Then came the IROCZ in the 1980s, a car that defined the decade's style with bold graphics and a reputation that carried from suburban streets to professional racing circuits. In the 1990s and early 2000s, SLP-tuned Camaros, like the SS, showed how partnerships could squeeze even more muscle from the platform, keeping the Camaro competitive during uncertain times. In the modern era, Chevrolet raised the stakes again. The ZL1 returned, this time with supercharged fury, cementing its place among the world's top performance cars. And when the Z28 nameplate resurfaced in 2014, it was a purist dream, lightened, stripped down, and engineered to destroy lap times with carbon ceramic brakes in a 70 LS 7V8. It was the kind of car that reminded the world of the Camaro's racing soul. Motorsport has always been in the Camaro's DNA, from drag racing glory to NASCAR dominance. The Camaro has proven itself across nearly every type of competition, whether it's setting quarter-mile records, trading blows on road courses, or representing Chevrolet on the biggest racing stages. The Camaro has left tire marks on motorsport history that can't be erased. These special editions and racing triumphs weren't just about speed. They were about identity. They made the Camaro more than a rival to the Mustang. They made it a legend. Few cars have lived a life as dramatic as the Chevrolet Camaro. Born from rivalry, raised in the fire of the muscle car wars, and reborn from the edge of extinction, the Camaro has never been just metal and wheels. It's been an icon of American freedom, power, and style. Across 6 generations, it's carried countless stories. The teenager's first burnout, the racer's hard-earned trophy, the collector's dream restoration. To many, the Camaro isn't just a car, it's a piece of their life. But as the 2000s rolled in, the road ahead became uncertain. Sales began to slip once more as SUVs and EVs took center stage. In 2023, Chevrolet announced that production of the Camaro would end in 2024. Fans around the world felt the same shock they had in 2002. Was this truly the end? Or just another pause before the next great comeback? Rumors swirl about an electric Camaro, perhaps a four-door, perhaps something entirely different. Some fear it could lose its soul, while others see it as a chance to evolve once again. After all, the Camaro has always been about adapting to its era, whether it was roaring with big blocks, surviving the lean years of the 1980s, or embracing high-tech performance in the modern age. No matter what the future holds, one thing is certain. The Camaro's story is carved into automotive history. It may leave the showroom floor, but it will never leave the streets, the racetracks, or the hearts of those who grew up dreaming of its thunder. The Camaro's legacy isn't ending. It's shifting gears, waiting for its next chapter to unfold.